Title: 2 terrifying real-life pizza horror stories that will make you think twice before your next late-night craving. Help this channel grow. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This helps us a lot. Thank you. The story begins. Story 1. The Man Who Brought His Own Toppings. On weeknights, the store sounded like a washing machine. Ovens humming, cooler fans whirring, dough slapping metal, the register chattering tiny numbers. I liked it like that. Noise meant routine. Routine meant I wouldn't think about the last complaint email or the health grade taped to the glass. I managed the Little Caesars off Ashland and 7th, strip mall neon, cracked parking lot, a blinking open that sometimes lost its pee. We had our regulars, the Little League dads, the night shift nurses, the gamer kids who ordered 2 cheese and ate both before the Uber arrived. And then there was him. He never told me his name. On the receipt he was always, cash, and no phone. On the floor, he was a shadow that arrived before closing, moving slow, like he was saving steps, and somehow still there past mopping time. The crew called him the Walker. Privately, I called him my problem. He stood in line the first time carrying a small cooler. Soft, faded blue with a cracked handle, the kind gas stations sell on a stand next to windshield fluid. I noticed it because I notice everything. Mystery coolers are in a manager's top 10 nightmare list, right after health inspector says hi and the fryer flickers. Large deep dish, he said, voice steady, eyes dim like a television in a waiting room. Hot and ready, I asked. Fresh, he said, then added, I can wait. He sat in the corner booth, the one that sees the parking lot and the kitchen door at the same time, and lined up the table like commuters waiting for a ferry. Napkins, straw, a plastic fork still in wrapper. The cooler stayed locked, a little frost beating on the lid. When his pizza landed, he ate like he'd been told to finish by a clock only he could hear. He didn't look greedy. He looked organized. Bite, 3 chews, sip, swallow, wipe, repeat. The crew pretended not to stare. A few families tried the other side of the dining room, then took their boxes to go. I shrugged apologies with my eyes. I hoped said, we're doing our best. It wasn't the eating that bothered me. It was the smell. Not rotten, not really, more like a cinnamon candle left too close to a toaster. It clung to the air when he left and turned the mop water a strange, clean scent that wasn't clean at all. He came every few nights for 2 weeks. Always at 9. Always in that booth. Always paying cash, always fresh, always finishing everything. Not once did he open the cooler. On Tuesday, the Walker arrived 5 minutes early and set the cooler on the table with both hands like it had something inside that asked to be put down softly. He gave me a small nod. 2 larges, he said, and a favor. We don't do favors, I said. We do breadsticks. Fair, he said, and if there was humor in him, it was hidden under layers of fatigue. No, just, may I warm something here? 30 seconds. Microwave. I can't heat anything not purchased on site, I said, automatic, rehearsed. The poster in the office says it in font size 14. Outside food equals outside liability. He lowered his eyes, then looked past me into the kitchen like people do when they measure how hard to push. 30 seconds, he repeated, even softer. And I'll be gone before close. I looked at the line, the clock, the cooler. Policy is a guardrail. Guardrails bend for traffic sometimes. Let me see it, I said. If it's sealed. He opened the cooler just enough for air to whisper out. The smell hit first, warm spice and something metallic beneath, like a penny pressed against a lip. Inside lay small vacuum bags, neatly labeled with dates written in blocky handwriting. I saw no brand logos. No grocery stickers. Just dates, stacked like index cards. November 2nd, November 5th, November 7th. What is it? I asked, keeping my face neutral. He considered his answer like he was choosing a door with different lives behind it. Protein, he said. High iron. We can't, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. If it isn't from us, it doesn't go in our machines. He watched me for a long second. Not angry. Not pleading. Measuring again. Then he nodded. Fresh then, he said, and closed the cooler. I comped him a 2-liter because managers are always trying to bribe their own guilt. He ate the first large one slice at a time, timed, precise, eyes on nothing in particular. The second he barely touched. He just sat, the cooler between his knees, hands flat on the lid like resting them on a casket. We were down to the last orders when the streetlights clicked over and the reflection of the glass turned the parking lot into a soft aquarium. My assistant, Alma, took out the mop. 2 kids in hoodies finished their breadsticks and left a tip in quarters. I counted the drawer twice. Then the walker stood and brought the second pizza to the counter. "Do you have foil?" he asked. "Sure," I said. He waited while I wrapped the untouched slices into 2 tight packages. He tucked them into the cooler's side pocket without opening the main compartment. The beaded frost had stopped. The lid looked heavier now. "Thank you," he said. Then, almost as an afterthought, "Does the night manager work alone?" The question landed where my ribs are. "No," I said. "We close as a team." He nodded like this pleased him, like I'd said the one correct answer on an exam I didn't know I was taking. He went to the door, paused, and spoke without turning around. "Lock behind me," he said. I smiled because that's what managers do when their skin wants to crawl. We always do. He stepped into the night. I locked the door. The neon open buzzed and blinked, losing its P and becoming Oin. Alma laughed under her breath and said, "Perfect." We finished the count. I sent her to take out trash while I printed the nightly deposit slip. The printer coughed paper like snow. Somewhere outside, a car idled, then died. The strip mall emptied. I was signing the last line when the bell over the door chirped. We had locked that door. Alma froze with the trash bag in her fist. I looked up. The door was still shut, the lock still turned. Some bells just ring because the building is old and wants attention. I laughed to prove I wasn't startled. Then my phone buzzed in my apron. A known number. A voice slow. "Don't open the back." I went cold. "Who is this?" "The back door," the voice said, patient. "Don't open it. Give it 10 minutes. "Sir." The line clicked off. Alma blinked at me. "What?" "Nothing," I lied. "Wait on the trash." We both listened. Somewhere behind the store, a soft clatter. Not metal. Not loud. The sound of something small brushing something bigger. Then a second sound, the cautious hush of steps on gravel right on the other side of our back door. We don't have cameras out there. I've asked twice. The franchise owner says, it's a safe neighborhood, as if neighborhoods wear name tags at HOA meetings. I moved toward the office to hit the light switch that floods the back with yellow glare. Halfway there, the motion sensor flicked on by itself. Someone was out there. A shadow moved across the bottom of the back door, a smear of black under the threshold. A slow, measured shape left to right. Not rats. Not wind. Steps. I reached for the deadbolt without touching it. A habit, a prayer. Alma whispered, "Did you hear that?" As if the sound might hear its name and answer. My phone buzzed again. Same number. I swiped before the first vibration ended. 10 minutes, the voice said. Then open. "Who are you?" I asked. "If this is a prank." "It isn't," he said. "Count to 600. The call died. We stood in the humming kitchen, bathed in the light of nothing happening, while the seconds stretched long as noodles. Someone outside tried the back handle, a tiny, polite test, then went still. The cooler fans kept sighing. The oven ticked as it cooled. Alma's breath sounded too loud. A minute became 2, then 3. The shadow under the door waited like a tide that had forgotten what the moon asked. At 6 minutes, the motion light clicked off. We waited one more, then one more after that, because fear does math and always rounds up. At last, I nodded at Alma, and we both exhaled the air we had been hoarding in our chests. I opened the back door. The alley sat empty, dumpster, oil-stained constellations, a plastic lid skittering in mild wind. No figure, no footsteps, no parked car idling. Just one thing, a folded paper napkin on the mat, weighted by a key tag from a motel 2 exits down. The napkin had writing in black marker. "Locked doors save lives. See you when the P flickers." I stared at the phrase, feeling stupid for every time I joked about our neon losing letters. Alma squeezed my elbow. "Manager," she said. "What was that?" "Nothing," I said again, but the word didn't fit. I picked up the key tag like it might burn. The motel's logo was half scratched off. Room number 19. We closed without taking the trash. I told the crew to clock out together and text me when they got to their cars. Everyone did, one by one. I stayed until their taillights stitched red across the parking lot. When I finally pulled the gate chain across the storefront and clicked the padlock shut, the OEN sign sputtered and, for a second, became open again, whole, before the P winked out with a little electric sigh. Across the lot, a figure paused beneath the streetlight and lifted a hand in an almost wave. Blue cooler in the other hand, handle strapped now, tighter than before. I couldn't see his face. The light made a halo of frost on the lid. I raised a hand back without meaning to. He tilted his head as if satisfied with my answer, then walked away into the stitched dark between lamps, slow, saving steps. I didn't sleep. Not because of the message. Because of what I did next. At dawn, I drove to the motel with the key tag. Room 19's door was cracked. The chain still set, the gap small, the room smelling faintly like cinnamon and a toaster. Inside, on the dresser, sat a note in the same blocky handwriting. "You follow rules. They don't. Please heat nothing for them." There was no one in the room. The closet was empty. The bed made the bathroom dry. I left the key on the counter and locked the door from the outside like I'd been trained to do with the office. As I turned the knob, a soft chime sounded somewhere, faint as a bell over a door that no one had yet opened. Back at work, I taped a hand-lettered sign beside the register, "No outside food or drink." No exceptions. Every night since, when the neon loses its P for a second at close, I glance at the alley. Sometimes it's empty. Sometimes, under the motion light, a shadow moves past the back door and doesn't test the handle. And every so often, near 9, a man with a blue cooler sits in the corner booth, eats what we make for him, and leaves the table cleaner than some families do. On those nights, the store smells like cinnamon and something metallic beneath, like a penny pressed against a lip. On those nights, I lock the back door twice. And I don't heat anything for anyone. Story 2. The woman behind the counter. The first thing I remember about that night was the hum of the vending lights outside the building. It was a Friday, late enough that the city had gone quiet, early enough that the freeway still hummed with far-off engines. I was working at an advertising firm just outside Sacramento. The new office sat on the edge of an industrial park, surrounded by empty warehouses and a few lonely gas stations. It was the kind of place that felt half-finished even in daylight, too new to be haunted, too empty not to be. 3 of us were working overtime that night. By 11, the others were still tweaking a presentation, and I decided to take my usual smoke break. The cold air hit hard as I stepped outside, heels clicking down the sidewalk. A neon glow pulsed at the far end of the block. Little Caesars, open late. It was my ritual. Walk down, grab a small pepperoni, eat 1 slice, save the rest for morning. The staff knew me. Same order, same time. But that night, the familiar orange glow felt off. The inside lights flickered. The parking lot was empty. Still I went in. A woman stood behind the counter instead of the regular guy, Simon. She looked older, maybe late 50s, with bright red lipstick and too much foundation, like she was covering something. Her name tag was turned backward. "Welcome to Little Caesars," she said, voice flat but oddly warm. "You're out late." "Yeah," I laughed. "Work. What can I get you?" "Small pepperoni and a Sprite." She smiled. "Coming right up, dear. Have a seat." The store was silent except for the fan above the ovens and the hum of the drink cooler. I sat by the glass wall, the one that looked out onto the street. The lamp post across the road flickered weakly, casting light that didn't quite reach the pavement. Then I saw him. A man stood on the opposite sidewalk. Middle-aged. His clothes looked damp, like he'd been walking for hours through rain that never fell. He didn't move, just watched the shop through the glass. I pretended to check my phone, waiting for the woman to call my order. When I glanced up again, he was closer. Still on the other side, but standing directly in front of the window now. "Everything all right, dear?" The woman's voice startled me. She was right beside my table with the pizza tray. "Yeah, just thought I saw someone." She followed my gaze, peered out the window, and smiled faintly. "Oh, him. Don't worry. He's harmless. You know him? He comes around sometimes. Calls himself the Pizza Man." I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. "That's creative." She didn't laugh back. "He used to work here." She left the tray and went behind the counter again. I tried to shake the unease and took a bite. It tasted fine, until I felt something stringy between my teeth. I pulled it out. A single curl of hair, coarse and gray-white. My stomach turned. I looked up at the woman, who was staring right at me now, her chin resting in her palm, smiling like a grandmother watching a child behave badly. "Something wrong with your food, dear?" I opened my mouth to speak but froze. The man outside had moved again. He was pressed against the glass now, both hands flat, face too close. His expression didn't change. His mouth didn't move. Just eyes, dark, glassy, patient. "Can you tell him to leave?" I whispered. The woman shook her head. "Oh, he's waiting for someone." "For who?" Her smile widened. "You." I pushed my chair back so fast it screeched. She stood too, voice suddenly sharp. "Sit down." I ran toward the door, but it didn't budge. The lock had been flipped from the inside. "Hey, open this." She didn't move. "It's rude to leave before you've finished." Through the glass, the man tilted his head, watching. The flickering streetlight made him look like he was phasing in and out of existence. "I'm calling the police," I said, yanking my phone out. The woman's expression softened again, almost sweet. "Go ahead, dear. But they won't come here." "What are you talking about?" She leaned across the counter and pointed behind me. "You're already inside." At first I thought it was nonsense, until I noticed the reflection in the glass door. The orange neon letters that should have read "Open" were reversed and faintly doubled, like I was looking through another layer of glass behind me. For one dizzying moment, I saw myself sitting back at the table, untouched pizza in front of me, phone on the tray, staring blankly ahead. I turned around, and the seat was empty. The woman laughed softly. "It happens sometimes after midnight. The customers forget which side they're on." I stumbled backward. My breathing felt thick, like the air had weight. "Where's Simon?" "Oh, Simon's around." She gestured toward the back door, which was cracked open. "He helps in the freezer now." That was when the smell hit, cold air tinged with bleach and something else underneath, faint but sharp. I ran for the back, swung the door open, and saw a small, windowless hallway. A row of pizza boxes stacked perfectly along one wall. Each box had a name written in black marker. Mine was on top. I don't remember dropping my phone, but I heard it clatter to the floor as I bolted for the front again. The woman was standing in my way, her lipstick smeared into a wider grin. "Leaving so soon?" she said softly. "He hates when they leave early." The man outside was gone. Then the front door clicked open by itself. I didn't think. I ran through it and into the street, straight toward the office lights down the block. I didn't look back until I reached the corner. The Little Caesars sign was still glowing, but the window was dark. My reflection wasn't in it. I waited on the curb, shaking, until my coworker's car finally pulled up. When I told them what happened, they drove me back. The building was there, but the store wasn't. The Little Caesars had closed months earlier, the sign faded and half removed. Through the dusty glass, only empty counters and stacked chairs remained. I quit the agency the following week and moved across town. Still, some nights around 11:30, I get calls from an unknown number. When I answer, I hear a woman's voice saying softly, "Your order's ready, dear." And just before she hangs up, there's always another voice behind her, low, male, echoing from somewhere far away. "Pizza, pizza?"